Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. I want to thank the European Parliament and all those who made it possible for my father to receive the Sakharov Prize for freedom of thought. You have highlighted not only my father's work and the persecution he has endured because of it, but you bring it to the attention of the European Union and the rest of the world, the plight of over 1 million Uyghurs who have been forcibly detained in concentration camps in the Uyghur region. Thank you, Rahmat. It is an honor to be at the European Parliament today to accept the Sakharov Prize on behalf of my father. I'm grateful for the opportunity to tell his story because he cannot tell it himself. To be honest with you, I don't know where my father is. 2017 was the last time my family received word about him. At that time, he was being held in Urumqi First Prison. I have not seen my father since we were separated at the Beijing airport in 2013. We were on our way to Indiana University, where my father was invited as a visiting scholar. Unfortunately, he never made it to the US. On that day, we were pulled out of the security line. I was given the choice of boarding the plane and flying to the US or staying with my father. My father insisted that I continue. He said to me, "Don't cry. Don't let them think Uyghur girls are weak." I went, and because of his encouragement, I am here in Strasbourg with all of you. But while I traveled on, he was detained, beaten, questioned, and now carries a life sentence at some undisclosed location. I will never be able to travel back to China and will likely never meet my family again. It is hard to believe that my father still physically resembles now the men I knew as a child. The men who worked at my bedroom desk in pajamas after I complained he spent more time on his website Uyghur Biz than with me. When there was a problem, my father always had a solution. He believed that when there was a problem, you need to fix it, just like when there's a hole in a fabric, you need to sew it. An unresolved problem, he thought, will lead to a bigger problem. And so he moved his laptop into my room and he worked at my desk while I sat on my bed doing homework. This way, we could be together. Sometimes he would forget how late it was, lost in his work until 4 a.m. in the morning. I would go in and out of sleep to the click of his fingers on the computer. I was a teenager then, with little understanding of why my father would give up his profitable business career and our trips to the New Delhi halal meat market for the life that landed him in prison. There was a time when we could afford to buy a whole halal lamb or an entire sheep and share it with the neighborhood. After my father committed himself to advocating for the rights of Uyghurs, halal lamb grew more scarce in our household. My father's wealth went to supporting the Uyghur community, from poor Uyghur mothers to homeless children. When he purchased a server in the United States to secure his website Uyghur Biz, there was no money left for lamb. My father was not afraid of being poor as long as he could devote himself to the cause that came to define his life, fostering peaceful dialogue and understanding between the Han Chinese and the Uyghurs living in the western part of China. For him, the problem was clear. Uyghurs were being denied basic rights. The right to believe what we believe, the right to worship the way we want to worship, the right to think what we want to think. For him, the solution was simple: to engage with the Chinese government in conversation about working with Uyghur people in a peaceful, non-violent, and instructive way. The Chinese government was not interested in conversations about working on the tensions building in the Uyghur region with a Uyghur scholar like my father, a man who was committed to peaceful resolution where the Han and the Uyghurs could live in harmony. Instead, they labeled him a separatist and locked him in solitary confinement for empowering the very people the Chinese government wanted to control. Today, there's no freedom for Uyghurs in China. You know this. Not at school, not in public, not even in private homes. My father, like most Uyghurs, have been labeled violent extremists with a disease that needs to be cured and minds that needs to be washed. It is under this false label of extremism that the government has put 1 million, probably even more, into concentration camps, where Uyghurs are forced to give up their religion, language, and culture, where forced labor is widespread and people are tortured. Some have died. History repeats itself. It didn't end well before. It won't end well now. China labels them as re-education center. Sorry, but I don't buy this term and you shouldn't either. Extremism is the kind of language the Chinese government uses to justify tearing family apart, controlling and monitoring every move of the Uyghurs inside and outside of China, and putting so many innocent people into camps. Even in my home in Washington, D.C., my phone and computer is often hacked. People ask me, am I scared? Yes, I am afraid. Sometimes I wake up in cold sweats. Sometimes I worry that my speaking out will bring harm to my family living in China. Even speaking to you today makes me nervous. I'm sure my father was afraid too. But when he identified a problem, he overcame his fear by working towards a solution, no matter the cost. I'm here today because I want to support my father. So I ask you in this room and those who are listening, do you see a problem with the way the Chinese government is treating Uyghur people? If you see a problem, please work towards a solution. Work from your place of influence. To the members of parliament, use your laws to hold Chinese government officials accountable. To businesses, don't be complicit in the Chinese government's persecution of the Uyghur people. To the scholars, continue your research to help expose these atrocities. To the NGOs, keep up the good work and hang in there. To students, educate yourselves and never stop your pursuit of the truth and your fight for justice. This is not about fighting China. This is about protecting human rights. A special mention goes to my father's students, who are serving years in prison for supporting him and his projects. These brave people, as well as my Uyghur brothers and sisters, are not alone in the camps. Kazakh, Kyrgyz, Uzbeks are jailed in concentration camps simply for being themselves. Human rights lawyers and human rights defenders are held in prison simply for protecting the rights of other human beings. Elsewhere in China, Tibetans and Hong Kongers, the Chinese Christians continue to struggle to protect their identity and their basic human rights. In the spirit of my father's work to promote a world of respect and understanding among different communities, I would like to bring to your attention the other finalists. Although they have not received the prize, their dedication and work deserve equal attention. Therefore, I ask you to discover more about the restorers who are doing amazing work in improving the lives of women in Kenya, elsewhere in Africa, in Brazil. The causes of late Marielle Franco, Chief Raoni, and Ms. Silva dos Santos must be supported for their tireless work on preserving the Amazon rainforest and the right of marginalized indigenous people who live in the region. These incredible people need to be heard. These people need your immediate support. Finally, while I don't know where my father is, I believe he's alive. I believe that his spirit, as captured in the Sakharov Prize, honor the father I know who moved his computer into my bedroom when I needed him. Now, the Uyghur people need you. Thank you very much. Thank you.